this the reading room?
Yes, I'm Saad Manzoor.
And I'm Travis Howard.
This is Reading Room Talk. Thank you for pressing play. Welcome.
Thanks for coming back, y'all.
We appreciate it. We're about to be on the other side of radiology today. We're talking to Delena Benjamin, General Radiology Modality Manager here at Kaiser, where we work. Thank you so much for making the time. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Good. We really appreciate this.
Thank you.
We're here to learn today.
Yes.
So take us back to X-ray school. What would you say was your toughest class in X-ray school?
Honestly, I don't remember so much a toughest class. Probably would have been the physics portion of it.
Yeah.
That's intimidating to a lot of people. Going into radiology, I'm telling you, it's a hurdle. No matter what you do.
It scares a lot of people. So, do you remember anything specifically about the class, or was it just kind of like a lot of equations and numbers you weren't interested in?
I think it's more so the equations, numbers, and then just trying to really understand the algorithms and why things work the way they work, because the positioning and that type of thing. It's like, okay, you can kind of get that, but understanding the whys and so forth behind it is a little challenging, or can be a bit challenging if you don't really understand the whys and why does it make it dark, or why does it make it light, or
that makes sense. I was gonna say, I feel like maybe at that time, you didn't have digital X-ray, so you would basically kind of just wait and see how your image turned out, or how was that situation?
Well, yeah, that too. And not only waiting until, we had to really wait then, because, back during that time, didn't have an instantaneous picture, wait, position it. Once you position it, then you send it to the dark room, and then the dark room will send it through the processor. And then you hope that the film came through the fixer and developer fine and came out of the machine like you wanted it to come out, not crumble.
How what's this time interval? What are you talking? How many minutes are we talking over here?
What was that?
How many minutes are you talking in between you taking the picture and when you get to actually see the picture?
Well, it depends upon how quick the person in the dark room is running the film. But for the most part, if once you take the picture and you send it to the dark room and have them send it through the process, you're really only talking about maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. And how many pictures you actually took and so forth.
Oh, I see.
But the act sending it through the processor itself was probably about 2 to 3 minutes.
I see. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, the time it takes now to get an image, and your turnaround time to read the image, interpret the image
it can be a couple minutes. Exactly. You could have a report in the system in a couple minutes basically now. So it's very different. So anyway, so tell us, where are you from, Dee? Tell us about where you're from.
Well, I am a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force.
Oh, shout out. Very cool.
So I did not spend very much time anywhere. All of my elementary, junior high, and high school, I never went to the same school over 2 years.
Oh wow. That's
we kind of positioned a whole lot of different places. And sometimes it was, even though I might have been living in the same house, but because of zoning and that type of thing, you went to different schools and so forth. Went over to Germany,
really?
3 years over in Germany, because he was TDY over there in Wiesbaden.
Wow.
So, and
okay.
Here, came back here, and he was stationed at Andrews, and went to 2 schools here. And then last year I ended up back in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Okay.
How would you say all that moving around shaped you?
How? Probably it prepared me for what I'm doing right now as we speak, moving all over the place in Kaiser.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
At all times. I love it.
So I didn't spend more than 2 years in the same school until after I graduated from radiology school.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So, of course, we're talking to you, but like, did your dad or your family kind of give you any stories about, being in the Air Force at that time?
No, my dad was pretty quiet. He's a pretty laid back person. So he didn't really say a whole lot as far as like what went on in the military, other than, I mean, the way he ran us in the house type thing was, pretty much,
like the military.
He was just pretty much laid. Didn't really say a whole lot. He just look at you and suck his teeth, and you knew to be quiet,
Like, yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know that look. So how did you get interested in X-ray school? Well, like, you talk to people today, or and they may or may not know anything about it.
Usually don't know anything about it.
Yeah. How did you get introduced?
I got introduced when I was in 9th grade. We had career day, and a person, I cannot tell you if it was male, female, or anything, but a person came and talked about X-ray, and whatever they said, I decided this is what I'm going to do.
Oh wow! What school was this?
This was probably back in, let me see. We came back in 69, so it was probably 70, probably around 1970, I guess.
Okay.
And here in Maryland, I was in Maryland at that particular time.
Okay.
They came and talked about radiology, and I guess whoever else talked about their careers or whatever, but I just decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do X-ray. Okay. And I just kept that throughout high school. And then when it came time to graduate, when I got into 12th grade, a girlfriend of mine's and I decided we were going to go to school together. And I decided that I was going to go to whatever school she went to. And she decided that she wanted to go to Gettysburg College. I said, okay, fine. I'm going to go to Gettysburg College too. Well, I found out that Gettysburg College didn't have radiology. So, well, it was X-ray back then. Didn't have X-ray. So I said, okay, so the closest thing to X-ray would be biology. I'm going to major in biology. Biology kicked my behind. So I decided after 2 years at Gettysburg, this was not the school for me. Plus, it was a big difference from high school to Gettysburg. High school, the teachers kind of prod you. You have to study, you have to do your quizzes and your homework, and you have tests and that type of thing. Gettysburg was nowhere near like that. You had a midterm, you had a final, and you may have had a final paper. That was it. They didn't care whether you came to class or not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a transition
for sure.
I do the best at Gettysburg. So instead of me doing this, let me go and do what I said that I was going to do. So I came back to Maryland, to DC, and to Maryland, well, DC, Maryland. I stayed with my aunt in Maryland, and I decided to go to Prince George's Community College, which had X-ray there. And that's how I started with, how I physically got started with X-ray.
I see. Now, did you know anyone that was going to X-ray school at the time, or you just kind of threw yourself in there and got to know people?
Just threw myself in there and got to know people. I just decided to follow my dream that I wanted to do X-ray, and that's what I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Shout out to those career days. Saad and I, we've done one. We're going to do many. That's the plan. But those career days, and you were in 9th grade at the time?
9th grade, yep.
So exposure, we always talk about exposure. If you don't see it, you don't know it exists. How can you pursue it? So that's, you made your mind up and you did it. That's wonderful.
That's really nice. Now, so you said that physics was tough. Now, what else do you remember from X-ray school? Or do you remember the classes, the people, or the rotations you did, the hospitals that you worked at? Do you remember any of that?
I only went to one hospital. The class had several, or still do because they still do it. They had several hospitals that you could rotate throughout. North Arundel was one, but it was kind of hard to get to the North Rundle because they only select, I think there were around like 20 some people in my class, and North Rundle only allowed 2 to 3 students. And so I didn't get a chance to go to North Arundel.
Mm-hmm.
And Prince George's Hospital was the one that I was at, and I stayed there the whole time. And then the other one was VA. And I didn't want to go to VA because I had heard different stories about VA and how their technologists, but they weren't strict. And I wanted somebody to be strict because I wanted to be the best that I could be. So I just told my instructor, I'm not going to go to VA. I can't go to North Arundel. So I'm going to stay here at Prince George's. And that's what I did. I stayed at Prince George's the entire 2 years. After X-ray school, we had to do a 6-month practicum. And I did my 6 months practicum at Prince George's Hospital. And during my practicum, the chief tech that was there said, we want to hire you. I said, well, I want to be hired. So
that's awesome.
I had planned to graduate from high school. I'm not high school, graduate from college, from X-ray school. What did I want to do? I wanted to get a job and then get married. And I did just the opposite. I got married, graduated from school, and then I got a job. You know,
that's awesome. That's amazing that you're able to do that. That's so good. I mean, it also like it kind of, you know, the fact that you kind of rotated at the hospital there and they saw how you worked, and you know, it was like an easy decision for them when you came and did your practicum. They were like, yeah, definitely come on over. So
yeah, you said something that I want to hone in on, and that was you wanted to be the best that you could be. You had an opportunity to go somewhere and maybe do something, you know, work at a hospital or be in a program that wasn't as rigorous, that it wasn't as strict as you said. Tell me why you made that decision. You know, what sort of things led you to do that?
Because I am, or at least I feel as though I am a go-getter. I like to, I just like to be the best. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I want to be the best at it. And I did not want to learn bad habits. I don't know. I just believe in doing the best that you can. Whatever it is that you're doing, just do the best at it. If that's what your love is, do the best at it.
It may not always be the easiest route, but
no, you easily could have just went over to the VA and like just had a good time, I guess. But that's awesome. But like you kind of had like a more long-term vision, which is important to know. If you like learn these skills, you learn them properly, like it's going to make you hireable everywhere, you know? So, and that translates to like whatever job you get. So tell us, so how long were you at PG for?
I was at PG for 14 years. And in my 14 years, I went to almost every area. Well, no. Every area in regular radiology. I did mammo, I did ultrasound.
Well, I thought ultrasound was like a different school.
No, at that particular time, ultrasound, which actually even now really is or can be OJT.
And what does OJT mean?
On the job training.
No, I see.
We're learning.
Yeah, exactly. So after learning mammo, and mammo was the same way at the time, because at the time when I was doing it, you didn't have to be registered and so forth. You didn't have to be registered even with ultrasound. However, with mammo, I did mammo. I like mammo. Back then we were doing mammo. Oh my gosh, those were the olden days. We did Xerox mammo.
What does that mean?
The blue, where when you position it, it's actually blue. It's like blue powder images.
What?
Oh yeah, long before the X-ray, that type of X-ray. So we did that, and then I from there I went into ultrasound. I was registered in ultrasound. Talking about difficult time for me was learning ultrasound. I was just had a set of twins and studied for the registry at the same time. So that was
a lot.
Huh?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That was a lot. That was. And then I passed the registry in ultrasound, and matter of fact, I just let my ultrasound registry go.
Oh, you just you held it the whole time? That's amazing.
It's 1981. Yep.
Wow.
Wow. But I did that at Prince George's Hospital. I left Prince George's Hospital, and I did ultrasound as a full-time job down in Virginia, in Northern Virginia. And then there, I left. Let me see. I left there as a primary X-ray tech, ultrasonographer, and X-ray tech there. And left there and went to, where'd I go from there? From there, I went to Southern Maryland Hospital as a chief.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I stayed at Southern Maryland Hospital for, oh my gosh, I guess that was about 14 years at Southern Maryland Hospital as well. Went down data processing for a little bit down at Southern Maryland Hospital. Okay. Then there came to Kaiser, and I've been at Kaiser since 2005. Started out at Kaiser as a QC lead at West End, and left West End to Capitol Hill, and started into bone density at that point at Capitol Hill. And then from there, that's when I got into the modality manager position in 2012.
Wow.
Wow.
You've done it all.
Yeah. It's obvious that you love what you do. What do you love most about being a technologist in radiology?
Just being able to help people, especially when you're talking to people pouring out sometimes how they feel, what's on their mind, especially when they're not feeling well. And then if you have a positive attitude to actually stand there and listen to them, or as you're positioning them or whatever, you're listening to them. Sometimes people just want to be heard.
Yes.
So, and that's very satisfying, especially when they come in. Some of them, by the time you finish talking to them, they end up crying, or they end up, you put a smile on their face when they came in and they might have been grumpy or whatever. Not that every patient is like that, but, but have those few, those that do come in and they walk out and you feel like you've really helped encourage somebody.
Yeah, I'd have to second that. We often bear this reputation that we don't connect with people. We just look at images and, we don't have that interaction, that connection with folks. But on many occasions in radiology, whether you're in mammography, talk about a very stressful experience for women in mammography, and whether you're the first person they see often, before they see a radiologist. And so it takes, I think, a certain skill set, a certain tenderness, a certain willingness to connect with folks and ease their anxiety that, that we can't dismiss that. And so I think that's great that you have that passion, that you do it on a day-to-day and you're willing to connect with those folks. Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. And I think you're kind of hinting at this, this concept of job molding, which is, basically your job, you basically find the things that you like about the job and just kind of focus on those things, because like in radiology, it can be kind of monotonous. So if you're not, finding a way to connect with patients or finding a way to, just talk to people and kind of understand that what your role is in healthcare and how you're making them feel better, making them, just having someone to talk to, that's important, because then that makes you feel like you're part of a team. You're actually making a difference in someone's life. So,
right.
Oh,
and not
awesome.
Patients, but also even with your coworkers as well too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because I feel I mean, the techs are the coolest people in the hospital, in my opinion. I mean, everyone that all the techs I meet are awesome. So I think you guys always have lives outside of medicine, which are very, very interesting as well. So I think it kind of gives us a lot of perspective on like, just life in general. So like you're studying for like ultrasound registry and like you have twins at home. Like that's just what you guys do. So it's awesome. So what would you I guess like what like would you have any regrets, I guess, throughout like, from like when you first heard about radiology technology as like a ninth grader till now? Like do you feel like you've kind of done the gambit of everything, or do you feel like you have any regrets or things that you would like to do with your career?
No, if I had it to do all over again, I would still do it again. I would still go back into radiology, even amongst the bare minimas and so forth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be an episode on dirty jobs.
Yeah. That's right.
And I can remember, I guess I had been in radiology probably, it was early in the career. So I'm going to say maybe about 4 years or so. Had a patient doing a bare minimum on a patient. And she told me, before we even got started, she told me that she was not going to hold that barium.
Yes.
And it's like, come on now, because it's like, okay, the tip is gonna, I'm gonna put the tip in now, the balloon, and it's gonna help you to hold it in, but I need you to hold it in as well. I'm not gonna do it, and she did not hold it in.
Terrible.
Terrible.
You can't actively not hold it in. Like, stop pushing.
Oh man.
Exactly. And then and this was a young person too. I mean, it wasn't, I'm going to say she probably was about 30s, 40s, maybe. Have those patients that come in that are like 70s and 80s that do better.
Yeah.
Than 30s and 40-year-olds do,
Yeah.
But yeah, I can remember. Oh my gosh. She just said she wasn't going to do it. Period. End. Was not going to do it. but even amongst those patients, and then of course you have the ones that come in and they're disgruntled and what have you. But by the time they end or leave or whatever, they have a much better attitude and so forth because they realize that we're really there to help them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're appreciative.
Yeah.
Dee, how would you say the landscape of radiology has changed over your career, from the physicians to your co-workers to the technology? I know that's a lot to cover, but what can you speak to what you've seen change, the biggest changes I guess you've seen over the years?
Well, more so the technology definitely has changed because going from as we call it, the wet read, that was physically a wet red film, out of the process or comes out of the water wash and so forth. And the radiologist throws it up as it's still drying and getting a wet read. So yes, that definitely changed. And then just over time, I think as far as co-workers and so forth, well, going back to technology, that the instantaneous imaging now that you see, you don't have to think about technique for the most part now because it's all designed within the machine, as opposed to when I was coming through, you had to physically think about, okay, 75 kV and then using 300 MA at 1/4 mass. It's like at 1/4 second and so forth. So then you got to think about, okay, I need 75 mass, or I need 50 mass, or I need whatever, you got to think about those kinds of things, pushing 3 or 4 buttons at a time, to get what it is that you need. So technique definitely has changed. Positioning has definitely changed as well too, because it's much, much, much more more added. You got the orthopedic doctors now that basically tell us what it is that they want us to do, this new position and so forth. As when I first started, radiologists were basically telling us, we kind of work for the radiologists, telling us what images they needed to see see and how they needed to see it and so forth. And you all have somewhat a say in what happens now, but not nearly as much say as what you used to have. You know?
Right.
So a lot of that has changed as far as the position, the collaboration and so forth with the technologists. I think is more of a collaborative situation now as opposed to before. Radiologists were up here and we were down there.
Yes, I know.
But you know, you can actually walk in the room and say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, type of thing. As beforehand, it was like, "Oh no, you just go in, you say what you had to say, and you walk out, and that was the end of the story."
Oh, okay, perfect. So this is a great transition to my question. So I want you to tell us like the worst interaction you had with a radiologist.
I don't.
It's a lot.
I'm just trying to think. I don't know that I've had a really bad interaction with the radiologist, because I get along with most people. Not so much directed to me, but as I was in one of my chief tech, it's just funny to me. Radiologists would and being a chief tech, you had to do Lightroom coordinator type thing. You monitor the films and you tell the technologist that you need to go back and you need to repeat this or whatever. Well, technologists decided to sometimes they would bypass me and just go in and talk to the radiologist and try to smooth it over to the radiologist to make sure that they didn't have to read it, they didn't have to repeat it. Because back in those days, the radiologists would just kind of turn their chair towards that hot light and look at that film. And then they decide, okay, I can pretty much see what I need to see, so you don't need to repeat it. Well, they went into the chief radiologist at that and took a film in, and they thought they were going to get it passed. The radiologist comes out and he throws the film up on the light board and he says, "What the is this?" And it's like, I didn't tell him to go in there to talk to you. But I mean, just like that, you know, where the technologist will try to bypass you or whatever and go in and talk to the radiologist. But I don't know that there was any radiologist that I really had any. I don't think there was any radiologist I ever had any tough goings with. We had one radiologist that he would bark at you, but as long as I found out, as long as you bark back at him, you were the best of friends.
Listen,
as long as you let him bark, he just kept barking at you.
Yeah, that goes for them bullies. That's a life lesson. I tell my kids all the time, bark back.
That radiologist used to give people the blues. But
so funny.
I found out that all you had to do was bark back at him, and that was the end of the story. We were the best of friends.
That's really good.
But he didn't bark at me too much. I'd see him bark at other people.
Oh, it's so funny. So real quick, so can you kind of give us like a breakdown, I guess, like when you were at PG for the X-ray school, like can you kind of give us like an idea like what the demographics were? Like were there like a lot of Black people, a lot of white people, a lot of other minority people in your class, or was it more homogenous, you would say?
I think we probably had more, and it's Prince George's County, but I think the majority of my class, and female.
Interesting.
And just a few males, not that many males. So I'm going to say out of the 20, I think it was about 20, 21, 25 of us, something like that. I think we probably had maybe three males and probably probably around 5 Black people.
Yeah. And like, did you feel that like in the class, or was it, or did you kind of like not see? You just kind of like had your blinders on and just made it through?
I had blinders on because I knew what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I just got along with my classmates.
Yeah. So, and do you feel like that had something to do with you kind of traveling and living in so many different places growing up?
I don't know. No, probably not. The only time that I saw color for the most part was when my parents we were in Germany. My mom was Eastern Star, my dad was Forrester. And I wanted to be, quote unquote, a rainbow girl, which is what I guess what the kids are called. And I remember that was 6th grade. And I remember this white girl telling me that I couldn't be a rainbow girl. I couldn't be a part of their organization because I was Black. And that kind of hurt a bit because I really thought I wanted to do that because I was looking at my mom being an Eastern Star, my dad being a Mason. I'm sorry. Well, he was Forrester when we got here, but he was Mason over there. I wanted to do that because I remember them going out, with my mom with the tiara on her head and my dad getting dressed up in a suit and all that. And I just thought that was so neat. But outside that, no. And then after we came back from Germany, here, we were basically I was around black people most of the time. But once I got to college, and of course, when I went to Gettysburg, it was mostly white people up there.
Yeah.
That's cool. There was a paper that came out, the New England Journal of Medicine in 2022 that talked about the difference in X-ray exposure, radiation exposure to African Americans over the years, like 1968 and maybe even the early 70s. And X-ray technologists were taught to increase the exposure, increase the radiation for some, harebrained that because of darker skin or thicker bones or whatever racist concepts that Black folks needed more radiation in order to produce a better X-ray image. Did you ever come across that, or were you ever?
That's ridiculous.
Exposed to that?
Yeah, no, I heard that before.
Yeah, wow. I remember that paper came out.
I heard that Black people have stronger bones, but not that you have to expose them more. No.
Yeah.
If you check it out sometime, I remember when it came out and I thought this is insane, but also believable.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. But I mean, it's good they made a paper about it. It needs to be talked about if it's happened, definitely. Sure. So, but we'll get you out of here on this last one. So what would you tell someone who's like in 9th grade, basically trying to decide what to do with their lives? And like, how would you convince them to consider X-ray school?
If I were, talking about that, I didn't even talk to my kids about doing X-ray, believe it or not. I guess because I wanted them to find their own. You know how you hear about parents wanting their kids to be the doctor, the lawyer, the whoever, whatever they thought that they wanted to be. They wanted their kids to be, or whatever their passion was. They kind of forced their kids to do it, and the kids didn't want to do it. So I didn't talk to my kids about it at all. But if I were to go to a career day, and to try to convince someone to do radiology, I would probably just tell them it's a rewarding career, but you do have to be people oriented because people are sick, not feeling well, and you have to be compassionate, show empathy, and understanding that a lot of times when people are not feeling well, it's not that they're taking it out on you, it's just that they're unhappy with the place that they're in right now. But radiology is very rewarding. You do have so many different avenues that you can go in. I went into mammo, into ultrasound, and also into bone density. So you got different avenues, and then even outside of the general radiology part of it, you can also do CT or MR or interventional radiology or nuclear medicine. I did dabble into nuclear medicine just for a little teeny bit, but I didn't dabble too much there. But you have so many different things, and of course, the pay is very good for radio too. So, what it is that you want to do with life, but it's definitely very rewarding in many different ways. So I would encourage them to go into radiology if they felt as though they really wanted to help people, not so much because of the money. Of course, the money help, but not so much because of the money. But if you have a heart for people and you want to help people, radiology or any medicine would definitely be the way to go.
I like that.
Awesome.
What was the most difficult thing you faced on your journey, and how did you overcome it?
Well, as I said, when I was studying for my ultrasound boards, that was the most difficult because I just had a set of twins in February and I took the boards in October. Mm-hmm. So not only learning how to actually do ultrasound, because after coming back, after having twins, getting into ultrasound, getting more into, because I just started in the ultrasound. I just started my ultrasound career right before I had the twins, or actually right before I got pregnant with the twins. But coming back after, let me see, I had them in February and I came back to work in May. So from May to October was very, very tough trying to manage a set of twins, studying for the boards, and learning ultrasound at the same time. So that's probably the most difficult.
That's a lot. Yeah. That is a lot. Wow. But you did it. I mean,
you're juggling a lot there.
Yeah, you're juggling a lot. But like you said, if you didn't do something, you're going to try to be your best. So
that's right.
That is awesome.
And needless to say, I also had a 2-year-old at the house as well, too.
Oh, just by the way.
By the way.
Oh, man. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dee, for doing this with us. We really, really appreciate it. We've learned a lot.
Yes.
All righty.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for listening. And till next time, stay low and keep firing.
Please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you get your pods.
One of the radiologists, when he was what do you call it, the one that would read the wet reads, anytime we took images from the emergency room, we would shove the things underneath the bathroom door to him, and then he'd send it back. He would read it and send it back out the bathroom door to us.
Oh wow, he was that busy.